All right, Buccaneers. It is Fumani after Sekhukhune United 0, Orlando Pirates 1 in the MTN 8 first leg of the semi-final. And today I want to talk about what Orlando Pirates has asked us to do. Orlando Pirates has asked us to trust the process. That's what Orlando Pirates has asked us to do. They've asked us, the fans, to trust the process that they, the people who work for Orlando Pirates, the staff, the management, and the players are in a process of. What are they in the process of? Well, I think we are always left to assume what that means exactly when these sort of things are said, that trust the process. But I'm going to assume here, okay, out of my goodwill, because I always assume the best of my club and the people that work for it, that they're working for us and they're working to give us results ultimately, and accolades at the end of the season. I think that's what they're working on every day at Orlando Pirates Football Club. So I'm going to assume the process is this. It is clear that, there's a big family conversation that I think you and I need to have about Patrick Maswanganyi, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go and speak about that specifically, but it's clear, it seems like, that Orlando Pirates is going through this, what I would call a rebuild. So there are a lot of players that already have left the club that you and I, to be honest, didn't think or didn't expect that Orlando Pirates, after winning the league, would go and let go of, or at least would make it very difficult to keep. Now, I don't know the difficulty with which they, say, for example, fight to try and keep Dino van Rooyen at Orlando Pirates. I don't know the difficulty with which they fight to try and keep Patrick Maswanganyi at Orlando Pirates. Someone like Thabiso Lubitsa, I don't know how easy they make it for him to go to Stellenbosch. I don't know how easy they make it for Tshegofatso Mabasa to go well, I think with him, it was a case of his contract expiring and letting go of him. I just don't know how hard they have made it for all these players to go, so that there is some sort of continuity in light of the fact that Pirates won the league last season, and going into a new campaign where Pirates are wanting to defend the league. In my humble perspective, well, in the words of Abdesam Wadu, he wants to win the league and the Champions League this season. And that is not necessarily synonymous with rebuild. I don't think when you want to win the league and the Champions League, you rebuild, but rather you build on what you have. And that's just simple logic. That's the way that I would look at it. But we're being told that Pirates is in a rebuild. And so we're going to take them at their word. And so I'm going to look at this game versus Sekhukhune in light of the fact that Pirates is rebuilding. Now, if Pirates is not rebuilding, I look at that Sekhukhune game and I'm concerned about a few things. I would sit here and go, I think there's too many changes to start with. Too many new players are playing together at the same time, especially just going back on the words of the head coach himself, who said, he crucifies himself a little bit last season, the fact that he started too many new players at the start of the season, and that costed him very crucial points. I think it was 6 points that he dropped first 2 games in the league. And holding him to those words, you then have to come and say, well, yes, you are forced to make the change of Talent Mbata. You're forced to make the change of Sikhendule in the middle of the park. But there's just been too many changes as well in terms of, there's Khositsile playing, and then there's Kampani Lungu playing on the right and then the left, and maybe that's forced with Moremi as well. Maybe there is a bit of excuse in terms of some of the players that we've seen and not seen. But there's Masilela now, and the fact that Tito is playing well, and then now there's rumors going about that Tito is being sold. We don't know how true that is, but because of just how evasive the head coach has been when asked directly about Maswanganyi and saying he can't comment, it does give some sort of credibility to the rumors that we've had that Pirates are about to sell Patrick Maswanganyi. A big concern for me. But again, like I said, I'm not going to speak about that. But like I said, if I'm looking at the Pirates game and the Pirates result and how the head coach lined up and those sorts of things, in light of the fact that Pirates is not rebuilding, I'm sitting here and I'm complaining about a lot of things. But if I'm looking at that in light of the fact that Pirates is rebuilding, now, whether or not they should rebuild, this is not the video. This is not the video of should Pirates rebuild, should Pirates not rebuild. Maybe I'll make a separate video speaking about that. I'm making the video that let's just assume it is true that they're rebuilding. What are we to make of the result versus Sekhukhune? This is the video you're watching. And in light of that, I think great result by Orlando Pirates. There are a few things that I think are going to be key learnings for the Orlando Pirates side, which is a rebuild side, a side that is being rebuilt. I think there are a few key learnings. Firstly, in light of the rebuild, I think Masilela is going to really find out that it's not easy to play that position as a 10. Like Masilela, I'm going to come to kind of Orlando Pirates, what they're learning, but I'm going to maybe say Masilela is going to need to learn that position has got some big shoes to fill, with the departure of Relebogile Mofokeng, and then the consequent rumored departure of Patrick Maswanganyi. And yeah, some really good players have played in that position. And I think, quite telling for him to be subbed at 45. They might come out and say, oh no, it was tactical, this and that. But I do think that he underwhelmed in that position. There was Pirates will have seen in their rebuild that, it was a notable miss. Just presence that backed up that right side of Kampani Lungu and Kamkhelo Sibilibili. You missed that presence of Patrick Maswanganyi, joining them on that side, creating those overloads and just moving people around. Something that I saw in that game, I really think that Kazim, the left back who was playing for Sekhukhune at left back, and Mojela, who was playing left wing, were there for the taking. Matter of fact, I think both sides were there for the taking for Orlando Pirates, especially in the first half. And I think they failed to capitalize. And I'm going to come to talk about the goal and what seemed very impressive and what we can learn from that and what that means for Orlando Pirates. But I think that one moment where Orlando Pirates actually score was what you kind of hope for Pirates would do to the sides of Sekhukhune. But I think they were there for the taking. And I think Pirates learned that as the game was growing. I definitely saw Mukobodi start to switch the point of attack, especially to that right side of Orlando Pirates. So Pirates would kind of play this side and then switch the ball that side to Sibilibili, who would be in space. And I think Lungu was starting to draw fouls from Kazim, the left back, and he was just there for the taking. And maybe let me get into that. I really do think that sometimes, we talk about these things very tactically, this and that. But I think, sometimes football comes down to very simple kind of terms for me, is that are you better than the player that you are playing up against? And I certainly think that was the case. Maybe a part of it was tactical in that I think someone like Mojela, if he's playing that side, he's definitely the point of attack for Sekhukhune. And so Pirates can tactically target that area, knowing that Mojela is going that way. And so we can outnumber their left back and just have that numerical advantage in the way it's 2v1. And if Masilela also goes and joins in there, you're definitely going to be dragging centre back or central midfield out there, creating other spaces elsewhere. So tactically, I think that's the case. But I think Kazim coming up against Lungu, Kazim coming up against Sibilibili, it really comes down to the fact that I think both of them were better than Kazim in terms of quality. So there was a superiority there. In terms of if it's a 1v1 of Lungu versus Kazim, I definitely expect that 9 times out of 10 is going to get past him. I think Pirates learned that, definitely saw those balls going out there a lot more. But I really do think, again, in terms of players with a superior kind of quality and that sort of thing, especially in the position of 10, with someone you think that will go out there and go and make use of those spaces on the right and start to move the ball around and play combination play on that right side. I thought it was missing. I thought it was missing as well on the left. I think Hoto had Nico Mobi all like just decked for him for the taking at right back. I think Nico Mobi is, if Nico Mobi was a bad player before, which he wasn't, I think he wasn't as great a player that everyone touted him to be as a right back. Definitely Hugo Bruce liked Nico Mobi. If he wasn't so much of a good player back then, I think he's even gotten worse now. And I think he was there for the taking if Hotto would have just taken him more, you know. Ultimately, yes, Hotto does score from that side, which is great, which is something that I thought could have happened a little bit more, especially on those sides. I think that if Pirates had a little bit more quality on the sides, just a little bit more quality, could have actually caused more problems for Sekhukhune. But I think that's just what was lacking. And then I think something else that Pirates, the rebuild version, will learn is that maybe they are very good as we speak right now at creating chances in the way of winning the ball back against the opposition really high and attacking with really quick speed. This Pirates side must learn that. They are very good at that. Okay, this Pirates rebuild side must learn that, okay, here's our weapon currently as we speak. Butuma, Muremi, Apollos, all these front guys. We're going to create a lot of chances this season by just winning the ball back against our opposition and creating chances very quickly when they're disorganized. You know, everyone kind of scrambling after trying to build up, and then they lose the ball. The center backs are split. There's gaps everywhere. We can attack those spaces with quickness and directness, and we're going to create a lot of chances. We're going to generate chances by just winning the ball against the defenders of the opposition. And as everyone is kind of disorganized, we're going to attack very quickly and we're going to create chances. They must learn that that is a weapon that they can use a lot more. But I think something they're going to have to learn and going to have to learn quickly, where I think Pirates is lacking quite a bit in this season, which is something that I think last season, in contrast, Pirates was very good at. And maybe this feeds into a compliment that I want to give to Ozun Apollos. I think Pirates are going to have to learn to combine a little bit more when a team is sitting back in a low block and everyone is just kind of sitting there, and there are no gaps really to penetrate if you're going to play at a slow tempo and you're not going to use intelligence to try and carve your opposition. I think Pirates is going to have to learn that. This new rebuild side has that task, which is how do we carve a team open? Who are going to be our guys? The first guy is Ozun Apollos. I've said this before. I'm going to sound like broken record, maybe a little bit of a fanboy, but I'm really convinced that Ozun Apollos is still that spark of genius for Orlando Pirates as a number 10 or as like a false 10. If such a thing exists, because obviously he starts out on the left and then he comes into the half spaces and then he drifts about. And I think when he starts doing that, Pirates look more threatening. When Ozun Apollos gets the ball, he picks his head, he sees the person in front of him, and then he sees his teammate behind the person in front of him, and then he combines with that player. I think that's when Pirates are reminiscent of Ozun Apollos and Relebogile Mofokeng last season, combining and carving up teams, opening them up, creating chances when teams are actually trying to close out their middle so that Pirates can't create chances. I think we're going to miss a little bit of that. And I think someone who still has that flavor and he still has that memory in him is Ozun Apollos. And I think this new rebuild side will have to find those players who are going to be very good in those central tight spaces, to play in those tight spaces, to open up teams at a high tempo and very good movement. Losing out on someone like Patrick Maswanganyi makes that task more urgent for me, because I've been here in previous videos speaking about the fact that I like when we're playing with Ozun on the left, Patrick Maswanganyi as a 10, because Ozun comes inside, Tito's also inside, and then they start doing that thing where they're trying to find spaces in between. And, yesterday's game, at the time of recording, I'm recording the day after the game against Sekhukhune, was really frustrating in that it felt like we're lacking in terms of trying to play in the center. The central midfielders, like credit to Mtiani and Mkobori, I think they do try and play into those spaces. But I think Masilela was just missing in this game. Cameron Danson is the person who came on and my thing is that I think Cameron Danson must play with the game in front of him instead of around him, having to turn and play in tight spaces. I think he's going to be rather a better player as someone who's controlling the middle rather than playing in those tight spaces and having to turn and create chances. I don't think that's where you get the best of Cameron Danson. When he came on, he went missing as well. I think you definitely need someone who's a specialist in that position. I'm really nervous about us losing out on Patrick Maswanganyi. Now, again, I don't want to make this about Maswanganyi. I'm making this about Pirates, that Pirates need a specialist like that. In fact, in my opinion, they need more than one, because if you've got Apollos, you need someone else. Because again, if Apollos, Lord forbid, goes missing for injury, I think we're gonna find out a lot of things that we don't want to find out with the squad that we have as it is right now. Unless Pirates have got lined up someone, or maybe even more than one person, to go and play in those positions, I think we're gonna learn some harsh lessons when we find teams that are gonna deny us the space to go and score. Now, I was pleased with eventually how Pirates go on and score in this game. I think that's kind of what you need, is that people just combine and then you score in that way. And I think that's what was needed in yesterday's game. Just a little bit of combination. I think I saw it again with Oswin Apollos trying this and that. And then you almost feel like, oh, there's a chance from nowhere, because we just played it around them really quickly. Someone will lay it off, and then Apollos is then laid off to this person. That kind of thing, I think that's what was lacking. And this is what I'm talking about, this point about these smart players who can create those kind of chances. And I think when I saw what happened there, well, I think the goal comes for Orlando Pirates in that the fluidity in movement, all of a sudden Lungu is on the left. And I think Sekhukhune is caught sleeping in that someone is asking himself, is that your man? Is that your man? Because Lungu pops up on the left side. Apollos has now left the left side and he's gone almost towards the right side. And then that combination play, you almost see it in Nico Mobi, and I don't know who was the other player who's failing to track the run of Hoto, who's playing at left back. And I think that person should have been given how Sekhukhune were playing. It should have been Tsepo Mokoena who would have tracked that person, but it wasn't Tsepo Mokoena. And I think that's where they caught with surprise, because someone's just like, this is not my man. My man's that side. And so Hoto and Lungu combine, and brilliant finish by Hoto, just hard into the top corner to beat Melusi Buthelezi, to give Pirates the lead in a critical moment, just about to go into halftime. And obviously, we've heard this said before, it changes the complexion of what the head coach is then preparing to say to his players. I think he's then having a different team talk. And you see it in that he introduces Cameron Danson, because we're missing just presence in between the lines. Cameron Danson doesn't come on and give us that too much. Again, Oswin Apollos is the person who comes alive in that as soon as he starts to want to play almost centrally as the 10, Pirates look a little bit more threatening. But I think the complexion of the game changes again altogether, and I think maybe the changes were forced for Orlando Pirates because of the game that is coming in quick succession on Tuesday. Maybe the head coach thought, I think we've got this game pretty much won. I don't think Sekhukhune is going to threaten us so much. But another thing that Pirates will learn, this new look, new rebuild Pirates side is going to learn that. And are you ready? Because I'm about to say something positive about Mbutuma. For those of you that want to hear nothing positive about Mbutuma, are you ready to hear this? Maybe you can close your ears for this one. Mbutuma is vital to give Orlando Pirates the dominance that they want in terms of playing in the half of the opposition. I hope that's something you can listen to and not feel upset. Did I just say Mbutuma is a great striker? No, I did not say that. I said Mbutuma is very important in giving Pirates the dominance that they want in playing most of the game in the half of the opposition. When Pirates take out Mbutuma and Tito, who wasn't there, yes, but let's say take out someone like Tito, they lose those pressing triggers that they want that unsettle the opposition from building from the back. As a matter of fact, when Pirates take out Mbutuma, I think you will have seen, if you were watching that sort of thing, is that Sekhukhune are playing a little bit further forward. Some will say, yeah, because Sekhukhune is chasing a goal. But I think they were from the start of the second half, and yet they were still playing a little bit deeper with Mbuthuma. Now, it could be a combination of things. I can see that to say it was getting a little bit later in the game. Maybe they're chasing it a little bit more, thinking that if they go to Orlando Stadium with Pirates having scored their away goal, it's definitely a problem if Pirates are taking a 1-0 lead back to Amstel Arena. So maybe they're coming out a little bit more. But I definitely saw it in the way that Pedersen presses. Now, Pedersen is a new player for Orlando Pirates. So it could also be that he needs to learn the pressing scheme of Pirates. He needs to learn a little bit more. Mbuthuma is someone who's had multiple training sessions with Abdeslam Wadu pre-seasons to refine how he presses and that sort of thing. But again, it's going to be a learning that if Mbuthuma is not the one up there, maybe say Mahopa is not the one up there as well. Pirates might not look the same in terms of where they want to pressure the opposition. I think there might be a little bit more space, a little bit more leeway for them to bypass Pirates a little bit better, giving people time on the ball to find more precise passes into the half of Orlando Pirates. That's something that I think that Pirates, the new rebuild Pirates, is going to have to learn very quickly. If Pirates wants to win the league, they're definitely setting themselves up for an Herculean task. And so if they do win it, it will be even a better achievement than it was last season, because obviously we're having this conversation quite a lot on social media that, hey, Abdeslam Wadu is riding on the wave of Jose Rivero. He's had a really good foundation set for him, and he just came with like maybe the pieces that were missing, like Apollos, maybe Moremi, having lost Saleng and people like that. And Rile had just gone up another level, and it was just set up for Abdeslam Wadu to go and win it. And now he's like forming his own squad, and he's completely ripping apart. Now we don't know how much power he has in that regard, in terms of it's him who's ripping apart the squad, or Pirates is just thinking, you know what, we want to enter into a new phase. There's like a trail of players that are from like a generation that we don't think are going to serve us going forward. And so we want to start as early as we can to kind of like, here's a new bunch of players who are like 22, 23. We think if they play together for 5 years, we can dominate. Maybe that's the strategy they have. And again, this is not the video where I'm like, should they do that? Should they not do that? These are some of the things that we're left to think. But I'm just saying that, this new look Pirate side has got a lot of lessons, if you haven't heard anything. And I do want to say that I will not be doing a build-up to this Sekhukhune game, which is playing on Tuesday, because of how close this video, and if I'm having to do a build-up, I'm pretty much going to say some of the things that I learned in that game. I really think just going into the game at Orlando Stadium, Pirates are going to have to take advantage of the same things that I think they failed to take advantage of. I think the space for them is out wide because, again, Mashilwani won't be playing at right back for Sekhukhune. At left back, Vuyoli Tlapa, I don't know if he's going to be back so quickly. Give more Cooper at the center of the park. I don't know if he's going to be back so quickly. So I expect them to play with a similar lineup. Maybe with exception of one or two players. And I do think, again, the game is going to set up with sort of Sekhukhune sitting like deep, thinking that maybe they can catch Pirates out a bit later and find that one goal. I think they'll be going with a strategy of like, hey, let's keep it at 0-0 until we can get a goal. And then it's, 1-0 Sekhukhune and maybe take it to penalties. And so if the game kind of sets up in that way, Pirates are going to be facing, again, a low block until much later in the game. However, if Sekhukhune come out the blocks very early, then Pirates is going to have the game as they want it, with Sekhukhune being risky and Pirates winning the ball back. And I think it's simple and straightforward to me in that regard. And I think Pirates will look at this past game and go and prepare the game that's coming in sort of with those lessons. But yeah, let me leave it here. I think those are some of the things that were my key learnings and learnings that I think Pirates are going to have to learn with them kind of setting up themselves as like we're rebuilding the squad. But yeah, tell me what you guys think. Some of the things that you observed, some of the things that are going to be useful for us. I'm not going to go into things that I wanted to say. Like, I think I had sort of individual performances that I was looking at, like Mtiani. who maybe I should say something about Mtiani. Maybe I should have said it a bit earlier. But yeah, Mtiani is another good one. I've kind of said that on this platform that, Mtiani is going to be something of a key player for Orlando Pirates, especially as the deputy of Talent Mbata, the way that I see him. I think he definitely can play with Talent Mbata because Talent Mbata will give Pirates a little bit of that driving forward a little bit more. Mtiani definitely likes to sit deep and control the play, very technical. I know people will have seen that nutmeg and stuff, which then resulted in a misplaced pass after that. But yeah, I like how Mtiani likes to get in between sort of Siema into the space that I think Tony Cruz, people who've watched Tony Cruz do that, Tony Cruz does that a lot where he gets into the space between the wing back, which is Sibilivili, and the centre back. He kind of drifts into that space to receive the pass because he's dragging people to open the space in the centre. And so he dictates the game from like a very deep area, almost next to the centre back, and then just kind of cleverly picking up that position, getting the ball there, and controlling sort of like proceedings for Pirates from a very deep area. And I think it works out kind of nicely because Mukobodi is very mobile. He covers ground. He goes here, he goes there. He'll break forward and that sort of thing. So it was a nice balance to see in midfield, I think, Mukobodi. Again, I think they're both very willing to play forward, to kind of want to, hey, let's quicken and play into the space in those, like in between the lines, if someone can receive there and then create a chance. But yeah, the other thing about Mukobodi, I thought he had some brilliant, like, again, changing the point of attack for Orlando Pirates. Just Pirates is playing here. Mukobodi sees the run. He plays it with accuracy right at the toes of Sibilivili on the other side. Positive things to see. A few things that were like, maybe if I were to work so hard to like criticize both of them, I already said it with Mtiani, maybe like a misplaced pass here. I think Mukobodi is the same thing. Misplaced passes, like trying to risk and then interception. So that's the sort of thing that obviously we criticize Ndlondlo about. For those of you who remember, well, Ndlondlo, there's more to it. Like he would lose the ball just trying to like turn in midfield, sometimes playing wayward passes. But I think Ndlondlo had that thing sometimes of wanting to thread it and then interception. But I guess the grace you have with players who try that is that a lot of those will not come off because it's definitely a percentage pass. That's what they call it. It's like it could come off, and if it does, it's a brilliant pass. But you're risking because the opposition are waiting to intercept that sort of thing. Because it's a dangerous pass. So yeah, anyway, if I were to work hard to find any sort of criticism for those guys in central midfield, would be that. But otherwise, those were my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think, and I'm going to leave it here. Up the Bucks. Cheers.